Ethan Parker never thought his life would take a turn like this. It was a quiet, ordinary night in his small hometown. The stars were shining brightly, and the cool breeze made the summer night feel just right. He was sitting on his porch, lost in thought, staring up at the sky. Little did he know, this night would change his life forever. As Ethan gazed at the stars, he noticed something strange, a bright light moving quickly across the sky. At first he thought it was a shooting star, but it moved in a way that didn't seem natural. The light grew larger and brighter, heading straight towards him. Before he could react, the light enveloped him and everything went black. When Ethan regained consciousness, he found himself lying on a cold metallic floor. His heart raced as he looked around, trying to make sense of his surroundings. The room was dimly lit, with strange symbols and glowing panels on the walls. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Panic set in as Ethan realized he wasn't alone. Standing a few feet away were two identical figures, both tall and slender with smooth, pale blue skin. They had large, almond-shaped eyes that glowed faintly in the dim light. Their faces were almost human, but there was an otherworldly quality to their features that made Ethan's blood run cold. "Where am I?" Ethan's voice trembled as he struggled to find his words. "Who are you?" The two figures exchanged a glance before one of them stepped forward. "Do not be afraid, human," she said in a calm, melodic voice. "We mean you no harm. My name is Vara, and this is my sister Zara. We are from the planet Alara." Ethan blinked in disbelief. "Planet? Alara? What are you talking about?" Zara, the second figure, smiled gently. "You have been chosen, Ethan Parker. You are very important to us." "Chosen? For what?" Ethan demanded, his fear quickly turning into anger. "What do you want from me?" Vara and Zara exchanged another glance, this time with a hint of hesitation. Finally, Vara spoke. "You are to become our shared husband. It is written in the ancient prophecies of our people. A human is the key to saving our race." Ethan stared at them, unable to process what he had just heard. "Your husband? This has to be some kind of joke." "It is no joke," Zara said softly. "Our species is on the brink of extinction. We have searched the galaxy for a solution, and the prophecies led us to Earth, to you. Only by joining with a human can we hope to create a hybrid that will save our people." Ethan shook his head in disbelief. "This is insane. You can't just abduct someone and force them into marriage. We understand that this is difficult for you," Vera said, her tone almost sympathetic. "But you must realize we are desperate. Our world is dying, and time is running out." Ethan felt a surge of frustration and fear. "I want to go home. Take me back to Earth, now!" Vara and Zara looked at each other again, their expressions unreadable. "We cannot do that," Zara said softly. "The journey back to Earth would take too long, and even if we could return, you would still be in danger. There are forces at play that you do not yet understand." Ethan's mind raced as he tried to think of a way out of this nightmare. But the more he listened to the twins, the more he realized just how trapped he was. He was light years away from Earth, in a place he could hardly comprehend, with no way to escape. As the reality of his situation began to sink in, Ethan felt a cold knot of dread form in his stomach. He was alone, far from home, and at the mercy of these alien twins who believed he was the key to their survival. And the worst part? A small, nagging part of him couldn't help but wonder if they were right. Ethan Parker sat quietly in the strange, sleek seat of the spacecraft as it hurtled through space at impossible speeds. He tried to make sense of what had just happened, but his mind kept circling back to one thought. He was on his way to another planet, far from Earth. The alien twins, Vara and Zara, were seated across from him, their eyes occasionally flicking toward him with a mix of curiosity and concern. The ship's interior was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. Smooth, curved walls with glowing symbols and no visible controls. It was as if the ship was alive, responding to the twins' thoughts. Despite the incredible technology around him, all Ethan could think about was how much he wanted to go home. "We're almost there," Vera said, breaking the silence. Her voice was calm, but there was an edge to it, as if she was nervous about what would come next. Ethan didn't respond. He didn't trust himself to speak without his fear and anger showing. Instead, he stared out the window at the stars, trying to calm the storm of emotions inside him. Moments later, the ship slowed down, and Ethan felt a strange sensation in his stomach, like going over a steep hill. The stars outside the window began to blur, and then, suddenly, a massive planet filled the view. It was a stunning sight. Swirling clouds of blue and green with hints of silver, like a jewel floating in the darkness of space. "Welcome to Alara," Zara said softly. The ship descended rapidly toward the planet's surface, and Ethan could see vast cities below, their structures shining with a soft, ethereal glow. But as they got closer, he noticed something disturbing. Parts of the planet were dark and lifeless, the land cracked and barren. It was a stark contrast to the vibrant cities. The ship landed smoothly on a platform in one of the cities. The doors slid open with a soft hiss, and Vera and Zara stood up, gesturing for Ethan to follow. With no other choice, he did. As they stepped out onto the platform, Ethan was struck by the sheer scale of everything around him. The city was filled with towering buildings that stretched high into the sky, their surfaces shimmering with strange, shifting colors. The air was cool and crisp, with a faint metallic scent that Ethan couldn't quite place. The twins led him through the city, which was bustling with activity. Ilarian citizens, all with the same blue skin and tall, slender frames, moved gracefully through the streets. They wore elegant, flowing robes that seemed to change colors with every movement. Despite their beauty, there was a tension in the air, as if everyone was on edge. Ethan noticed the curious stares from the Ilarian people as they passed. He felt like an outsider, a stranger in a world that wasn't his own. But more than that, he felt a growing sense of unease. This place, as advanced as it was, seemed to be hiding something. Vara and Zara led him to a grand building at the center of the city. Inside, the atmosphere was different, quieter, more solemn. The walls were adorned with intricate carvings that depicted scenes of Ilarian history, but Ethan couldn't understand any of it. "We want you to understand," Vara said as they walked. "Our world is dying. The wars, the pollution. We have brought this upon ourselves. That's why we need you, Ethan. The prophecy says a human can save us by giving us new hope, new life," Zara added. "But it's more than just the prophecy. We believe in it, but we also believe in you. We believe you can help us in ways even we don't fully understand yet." Ethan shook his head, still struggling to grasp the situation. "I'm just one guy from Earth. How am I supposed to save an entire planet?" "You have something we don't," Vera said. "A different perspective, different ideas. We've been trapped in our ways for too long, and now we're paying the price. You might see things we can't." They led Ethan to a large chamber where a group of Ilarian leaders awaited them. The room was filled with tension, and as Ethan stepped forward, he could feel the weight of their expectations on him. "Welcome, human," one of the leaders said, her voice resonating through the chamber. "We have been waiting for you." Ethan stood there, feeling the eyes of every Ilarian in the room on him. He was just a regular guy, but now, on this alien world, he was being asked to be something more. He didn't know if he could do it, but one thing was clear: there was no turning back. Ethan Parker felt like he was in a dream he couldn't wake up from. Days had passed since his arrival on Alara, but the reality of his situation still hadn't fully sunk in. He was surrounded by alien technology, strange customs, and people who looked at him as if he were some sort of savior. Despite Vara and Zara's efforts to make him comfortable, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. It wasn't just the pressure of the prophecy or the fact that he was expected to marry the twins. It was the atmosphere of the city itself. Every time Ethan went out with Vara and Zara, he noticed the nervous glances from the Ilarian citizens. The air buzzed with tension, as if everyone was waiting for something to happen. One evening, while the twins were occupied with their duties, Ethan decided to explore the city on his own. He needed to clear his head, to think about what he was going to do next. As he wandered through the narrow, winding streets, he kept his head down, hoping to blend in. But blending in wasn't easy when you were the only human on the planet. Before long, Ethan realized he was being followed. He glanced over his shoulder and saw a group of figures lurking in the shadows, their faces hidden by cloaks. Ethan's heart raced as he quickened his pace. He didn't know who these people were or what they wanted, but he had a bad feeling. Just as he was about to turn a corner, one of the figures stepped in front of him, blocking his path. "Don't be afraid," the figure said in a low, calm voice. "We're not here to hurt you." Ethan took a step back, his eyes darting around for an escape route. "Who are you? What do you want?" The figure pulled back their hood, revealing a woman with sharp features and piercing green eyes. "My name is Kayla," "We are part of the Resistance. We've been watching you since you arrived." "Resistance?" Ethan repeated, confused. "What are you resisting?" Kayla glanced around, making sure they weren't being overheard. "The ruling council, the old ways. They're leading our people to ruin. The prophecy is a lie, a tool to control us. The council doesn't want to save Alara, they want to keep their power no matter the cost." Ethan frowned, trying to make sense of what she was saying. "But the twins, they believe in the prophecy. They told me it's the only way to save your world." Kayla shook her head. "Vara and Zara are good-hearted, but they've been deceived like everyone else. The council is using them and you to maintain control. The hybrid children they speak of are nothing more than a way to keep their bloodline strong while the rest of Alara suffers." Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. Everything Kayla was saying went against what Vara and Zara had told him. But deep down, Ethan had sensed that something wasn't right. The decaying parts of the planet, the uneasy looks from the citizens. There was more going on here than he'd realized. "What do you want from me?" Ethan asked cautiously. "We need your help," Kayla said. "The people look up to you, even if you don't know it. If you speak out against the council, it will give others the courage to stand up as well. Together we can bring about real change, not the false hope they've been feeding us." Ethan hesitated. He didn't know anything about leading a resistance, and the thought of defying the ruling powers of an alien world terrified him. But he couldn't ignore the truth in Kayla's words. If the council was lying, if the prophecy was just a means of control, then staying silent would mean dooming the planet and its people. Before Ethan could respond, Kayla stepped closer, her voice urgent. "Think about it, Ethan. Do you really want to be a pawn in their game, or do you want to make a real difference?" Ethan looked into her eyes, seeing the determination and desperation there. He didn't have all the answers, but he knew he couldn't just stand by and do nothing. He had been brought to this world for a reason, and maybe that reason wasn't to fulfill a prophecy, but to challenge it. "I'll help you," Ethan said, his voice steady. "But we need to be smart about this. The council won't go down without a fight." Kayla nodded, a faint smile of relief crossing her face. "We know, and that's why we need you." As Ethan followed Kayla into the shadows, he couldn't help but feel a mixture of fear and resolve. He was just an ordinary guy, but now he was part of something much bigger, a fight for freedom on a world that wasn't his own. The road ahead was uncertain, but for the first time since his abduction, Ethan felt like he was making a choice that mattered. Ethan Parker couldn't sleep. The words Kayla had spoken to him echoed in his mind, making it impossible to find peace. The thought that everything he had been told about the prophecy and his role on Alara might be a lie gnawed at him. He lay in the small, dimly lit room that Vara and Zara had given him, staring up at the ceiling, trying to piece together the truth. The twins had been nothing but kind to him since his arrival, yet doubts crept in. Was their kindness genuine? Or were they simply following the council's orders, believing in a lie themselves? Ethan didn't want to believe they were part of some grand deception, but the evidence was hard to ignore. Unable to lie still any longer, Ethan got up and quietly slipped out of the room. The night was silent, with only the faint hum of the city's energy flowing through the walls. He made his way to the central chamber where the twins often met with the council. If there were answers to be found, they would be here. As Ethan entered the chamber, he noticed a soft glow coming from a panel on the far wall. He approached it cautiously, recognizing the symbols as Alarian writing, though he couldn't read them. But something about the panel seemed familiar. It was a communication device, similar to the ones he had seen on Earth. Driven by curiosity, Ethan activated the panel. A series of holographic images appeared, showing records of council meetings, data on the planet's deteriorating condition, and reports on the human prophecy. As he scrolled through the information, one file caught his eye, a detailed analysis of human biology and its compatibility with Alarian DNA. Ethan's stomach tightened as he read the report. The council had known for years that their planet was dying, but instead of addressing the root causes, they had decided to search the galaxy for a species they could manipulate. Humans, with their unique genetic traits, were deemed the perfect candidates to produce a hybrid race. The prophecy wasn't ancient. It was created by the council as a means to control both the Alarian population and any humans they might abduct. The truth hit Ethan like a punch to the gut. He wasn't here because of some mystical prophecy. He was here because the council saw him as a tool, a means to an end. And Vara and Zara, for all their kindness, had been raised to believe in this fabricated prophecy without questioning it. His mind raced as he realized the implications. The council was willing to sacrifice everything, even their own people, to maintain power. The decaying lands, the suffering citizens, it was all a result of their refusal to change. And now they were pinning their hopes on a desperate gamble, one that would likely fail and leave Alara in even worse shape. Ethan shut off the panel, his heart pounding in his chest. He had to find Vara and Zara to tell them what he had discovered. They needed to know the truth, to see that their loyalty to the council was misplaced. He found the twins in their private quarters, discussing the latest plans with a worried tone. When they saw Ethan's expression, they immediately knew something was wrong. "Ethan, what's happened?" Vara asked, her eyes wide with concern. Ethan took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. "I know the truth. The prophecy, the council, it's all a lie. They've been using you, using me to keep their power. The prophecy was made up to control the people, to make them believe there's hope when really they're just avoiding the real problems." Zara's face paled and she glanced at her sister. "What do you mean? How do you know this?" Ethan quickly explained what he had found, showing them the data he had uncovered. The twins listened in stunned silence, their expressions shifting from disbelief to horror as the reality of the situation sank in. "This can't be true," Vera whispered, her voice trembling. "Everything we've been taught, everything we've believed in, it's all been a lie?" Zara clenched her fists, her anger evident. "The council has betrayed us all. They've kept us in the dark, made us believe in a future that was never real. We can't let them continue this." Ethan looked at them, seeing the pain and betrayal in their eyes. "We have to stop them. The resistance is already fighting back, but they need our help. We can expose the truth, show the people what's really happening. Maybe then we can save Alara, not through some fake prophecy, but by actually facing the problems." Vara nodded, her resolve hardening. "You're right. We can't let this continue. We'll stand with you, Ethan, and together we'll fight for the truth." As the three of them prepared to confront the council, Ethan knew that the battle ahead would be difficult. But for the first time since his abduction, he felt a sense of purpose. He wasn't just a pawn in the council's game anymore. He was part of something bigger, something that could change the fate of an entire world. Ethan Parker stood in the heart of the council chamber, his pulse pounding in his ears. Vara and Zara were beside him, their faces set with determination. Before them, the Alarian council sat in their elevated seats, their expressions a mix of shock and anger. The truth had been revealed, and now the moment of reckoning had arrived. The chamber was filled with the murmurs of Alarian citizens who had gathered after hearing rumors of the council's deception. Kayla and the resistance had worked quickly to spread the truth, and now the people demanded answers. Ethan could feel the weight of their gaze on him, waiting to see what he would do next. "You have betrayed your own people," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. "You created a false prophecy to keep them in line, to avoid making the difficult changes that could have saved this planet. And now you expect me to play along with your lies?" One of the council members, an older Alarian with stern features, leaned forward. "You do not understand, human. Our methods may seem harsh, but they were necessary. Without the prophecy, our people would have fallen into despair. We needed hope, even if it was built on a lie." "Hope?" Vara's voice rang out, filled with anger and betrayal. "You call this hope? You've watched our world decay while you clung to power. You've allowed our people to suffer, believing in a future that would never come. That is not hope. That is control." Zara stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "We believed in you. We trusted you. But now we see the truth. The only way to save Alara is to face reality, not hide behind false promises. The council's time is over." The chamber fell silent, the tension thick in the air. Ethan could see the doubt in the faces of the council members, the fear that their time was truly at an end. But he knew they wouldn't give up power easily. The future of Alara was hanging in the balance, and it was up to him to tip the scales. "The people deserve the truth," Ethan said, turning to address the crowd. "They deserve a chance to fight for their future, to rebuild this planet together. It won't be easy, and it will take time, but it's the only way forward. We can't rely on lies and false hopes anymore. We have to face the truth, no matter how hard it is." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Kayla stepped forward, her voice strong and clear. The resistance stands with Ethan. We will not let the council continue to deceive us. We will rebuild Alara, together, with honesty and courage. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They could see the tide turning, the power slipping from their grasp. Finally, the eldest counselor spoke, his voice heavy with resignation. You speak of change, but change is never without cost. If you proceed down this path, you must be prepared to face the consequences. The people will look to you for guidance, and if you fail, it will be your burden to bear. Ethan met the counselor's gaze, feeling the weight of the responsibility pressing down on him. But he knew there was no turning back now. The choice had been made, and it was time to move forward, no matter the risks. I understand, Ethan replied, but this isn't about one person. It's about all of us. We'll face the challenges together, and we'll build a future that's real, not one based on lies. Vara and Zara nodded in agreement, standing resolutely beside him. The crowd's murmurs grew louder, voices filled with determination and hope. The kind of hope that came from knowing the truth and choosing to fight for a better tomorrow. The council slowly rose from their seats, their expressions a mixture of defeat and reluctant respect. Very well, the eldest counselor said. The council relinquishes its authority. The future of Alara is now in your hands. With that, the council members filed out of the chamber, leaving Ethan, the twins, and the resistance to face the uncertain path ahead. The crowd surged forward, surrounding Ethan and the others, their faces filled with a mixture of fear and hope. They were ready for change, but it wouldn't be easy. The road ahead was long and filled with challenges, but it was the only road worth taking. As the citizens of Alara began to organize, ready to take their first steps toward a new future, Ethan finally allowed himself a small smile. He had been abducted and brought to this alien world against his will, but now, for the first time, he felt like he belonged. He wasn't just a human among aliens. He was part of something bigger, something that could truly make a difference. Together, they would rebuild Alara, not on the foundation of lies, but on the strength of truth, unity, and the unwavering belief that they could create a better future. And with that belief, Ethan knew anything was possible.